Welcome to Gen 1 Greenhouse. In this video, we're going to be making a succulent arrangement. We're going to be using succulents from the deserts of Mexico, so this will be a desert-themed arrangement. The first plant we'll be using in the arrangement is a hybrid plant called the blue giant. It's a mix between a graptopetalum and a sedum, making it a graptosedum. The first thing I'm going to be doing is marking where I'm going to make the cut. You can see I'm marking just below one of these nodes. Roots will grow from these nodes, so we're making sure I have at least one that will be in the soil. I'm also being careful not to touch the leaves unless necessary, because I don't want to rub off the blue powder that gives them their color. After I take the cuttings, I'll twist off the bottom 2 or 3 layers of leaves. When I take those leaves off, it will reveal even more nodes for roots to grow from. Now I'm going to carefully secure the top of the plant and take the cut. These leaves are so plump and heavy, it's really hard not to knock a few off. But that's okay, because any leaves I knock off I'll be using for propagation. This one is especially tricky because it has a leaf so close to where I'm going to take the cut, I have to put it at an angle. But it looks like I succeeded in taking both the cuts with knocking off minimal leaves and removing minimal powder. Now we gently set these aside for later and take a look at the cuts. The cuts will scab over, and if there's any visible nodes like this one, the plant will even grow a new head like the ones we just cut off. Sometimes they can even grow 2 or 3, or 5, or even 10. You can see that happening to my ghost plants. You can even see on the top where I cut the head off and it scabbed over, and now it has 2 new heads growing. Believe it or not, this is just one plant. I got really lucky and it grew back 6 heads. But now let's go back to making the arrangement. Now I'll gently twist off the bottom sets of leaves so that new roots can grow. I'll be propagating every single one of these leaves into a new plant. In fact, I'm starting a series exclusively on YouTube and TikTok where you can watch these leaves from day 1 all the way until they're full-grown plants. It's really crazy to watch a leaf turn from a leaf to a full-grown plant, and then you can do it all over again with the leaves from that plant. When you're propagating succulents through leaves, it's always best to water the plant one day before you take the leaves off, so they can be full of water and have the best chance of making a new plant. Now these are ready to go in the arrangement, but what are they going to be paired with? These Houseleeks I bought recently weren't doing well in their old soil. They were just begging for a new home, so I'll be using them in the arrangement. But first we have to get them out of their pot. They were bone dry, so it was really easy to pull them out. I can tell already we'll have a lot of dead to remove before we can plant these again. Especially on this one. My rule is as long as it still has green, it's savable. I think that after repotting into my homemade succulent soil and adequate watering, they'll be good as new. Now it's time for the cleanup. It's best that I turn this into a time lapse because it took a long time. If you just want to get on with the video, skip to 6:11. This is my homemade soil that I'll be using for the repotting. I've used it in previous videos, but in case you haven't seen it, it's 1 part homemade compost, 1 part natural sand, and 1 part pea gravel. I'll be using this beautiful white pot for the arrangement. I actually have 2 of these, so if you'd like to see another video where I turn the other one into a different arrangement, let me know. I want to be careful not to pack this soil down too tightly, because the roots need room to grow freely. But I don't want to make it too loose and the plants not be secure enough. I separated the houseleeks into 4 different plants. My goal for this arrangement is to make it look like a mini desert with a high point and a low point. I'll turn the rest of this into a time lapse too, because it takes quite a while. The blue giants add height and color to the arrangement. I think they're a perfect addition. Now it's time to add in the smaller houseleeks. These even have little runners growing off of them. Hopefully they'll root and turn into new plants too. And by the way, you might know these as hens and chicks. They're the same plant, they just have different names. You might think I'm almost done, but I haven't even added the decorations yet. This would be quite a long video if I kept everything in it, so I'm going to cut to when I'm done adding the plants. Now I'm going to give everything a good water to make sure the roots are nice and secure. You can tell how dry those houseleeks were by how fast they soak up this water. You can see where I tried to make the low point, all the water is puddling up. I think I might just have to turn this into a nice even pot, but it was a good thought. Now it's time to add the decorations. This is where it goes from a normal arrangement to something truly eye-catching. To make it look natural, I brushed the soil up on top of the rock to make it look buried. And I sprinkled some on top to really add to that buried look. Every time I see a rock, I always think to myself how I could use it in an arrangement. I've been saving up these rocks for months, waiting for a chance to use them. Then I water to pack the soil around the rocks. Now it's time for the desert theme of this arrangement to really show. I scooped up some sand from my yard and just sprinkled it all over the top of the soil. I tried not to get any on the leaves, but if some of it did, I just brushed it off with a paintbrush afterwards. I even added a few extra rocks and put sand on top of them to just make it look like hills and bumps. My goal for this was to make it look like a whole desert shrunk down into one pot, and I think I did it. This was my attempt at a desert arrangement a year ago. If you would be interested in seeing me repot these into the other white pot and making a second arrangement, let me know. This video was difficult to film and edit, but I hope you enjoyed it. I'd greatly appreciate it if you left a like and commented to support Gen 1.